In 2003, a 67-year-old retired schoolteacher named Margaret Engstrom walked into a memory clinic in Stockholm. Her daughter had noticed small things: keys in the freezer, repeated questions, a story told twice in 1 hour. The doctors ran tests. They told Margaret she was fine. Just stress. Just age. She went home. 5 years later, she couldn't remember her daughter's name. Her case wasn't unusual. It wasn't random either. Researchers at the Karolinska Institute had been quietly tracking thousands of people just like Margaret. And they found something that changed everything. Some people, surrounded by the same risks, the same genetics, the same aging world, simply didn't get dementia. Not luck, not genes. Something they were doing every single day. Something nobody had told Margaret. Right now, 55 million people worldwide live with dementia. Every 3 seconds, someone new joins that number. And most of them had no idea it was coming. You might be one of them. Unless something changes today, this is Longevity Lab. We dig into the science of living longer, sharper, and stronger. No fluff, no supplements ads, just the research, delivered straight. 1. They walk like their brain depends on it, because it does. A 71-year-old man named Harold used to drive everywhere. Half a mile to the store, 2 blocks to his neighbor's house. When his wife hid the car keys after a minor accident, he started walking out of stubbornness. That was 1999. He's 95 now, still sharp, still walking. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco tracked 6,000 older women over an 8-year period. The ones who walked the most had a 17% lower rate of cognitive decline. But here's what matters. It wasn't marathon training. It wasn't structured gym sessions. It was walking. Consistent, daily, deliberate movement. 17%. Every single year of protection. When you walk, your brain releases a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it as fertilizer for your neurons. It literally grows new brain connections. It thickens the hippocampus, the region that dies first in Alzheimer's. Your micro-action. Walk 20 minutes today. Not tomorrow. Today. No shoes required in your own hallway if you have to. 2. They sleep like it's a medical appointment. Here is what that looked like. In sleep labs across Europe, neuroscientists watched what happened inside brains during deep sleep. They found something extraordinary. The brain has its own waste removal system. It's called the glymphatic system. It only activates at night. During deep sleep, your brain cells shrink by nearly 60%. Fluid rushes in. It flushes out toxic proteins, including amyloid beta. That's the exact protein that builds into the plaques found in Alzheimer's brains. One bad night doesn't kill you. But chronically short sleep? That changes everything. Just one night of sleep deprivation increases amyloid beta in the brain by 5%. One night. A 2017 study from Uppsala University found that men who slept poorly showed higher amyloid buildup after just one disrupted night. Your brain is running a cleaning cycle every night. If you cut the cycle short, the garbage stays. Your micro-action. Set a hard sleep alarm, not just a wake alarm. Lights out by 10:30 p.m. Tonight, no negotiation. 3. They eat to fight brain fire. Nobody told Ruth Fowler that bread was hurting her brain. She was 58. She ate what she called a normal diet. Cereal in the morning, sandwiches for lunch, pasta at dinner. Her inflammation markers were quietly climbing. Her doctor never mentioned it. Chronic neuroinflammation, low-grade, invisible fire inside the brain, is now considered one of the primary drivers of cognitive decline, and the foods that trigger it are sitting in most people's kitchens right now. Refined carbohydrates, ultra-processed snacks, industrial seed oils, they all spike a molecule called interleukin-6. It damages the blood-brain barrier. It lets harmful proteins in. People with the highest inflammatory diets have a 36% higher risk of dementia. Researchers at Rush University Medical Center tracked over 900 older adults using what they called the MIND diet, a brain-specific eating pattern heavy in leafy greens, berries, olive oil, and fatty fish. The results were stunning. Those who followed it most closely had brains that functioned as if they were 5 years younger. Your micro-action. Add 1 handful of dark leafy greens to 1 meal today. Spinach, kale, arugula. Doesn't matter, just 1 handful. That's the first domino. 4. They never stop learning hard things. In 1986, a group of Catholic nuns agreed to donate their brains to science. What researchers found decades later was shocking. Some of those nuns had the full physical hallmarks of Alzheimer's. The plaques, the tangles, the cellular destruction, but had shown almost 0 symptoms while alive. They had kept teaching, kept writing, kept engaging with complex ideas into their 80s and 90s. What protected them wasn't their brain structure. It was what researchers called cognitive reserve, a buffer, built by decades of mental challenge. The brain builds redundant pathways when pushed. When one road closes, traffic reroutes, but only if the alternate roads were built. High cognitive reserve can delay Alzheimer's symptoms by up to 5 years. 5 years of your life. 5 years of recognizing your children's faces. 5 years of knowing your own name. The activity doesn't have to be glamorous. Learning a new language, playing chess, picking up an instrument, reading books that are slightly too hard for you. Your micro-action. Today, find one thing that makes your brain work uncomfortably hard. A crossword is fine. A new language app is better. Do 15 minutes. 5. They are ruthlessly social. George Vaillant spent decades running the longest happiness study in history. Harvard. Started in 1938. He tracked hundreds of men from youth into old age. The single strongest predictor of cognitive health at 80, not cholesterol, not exercise, not diet, relationships, the quality and frequency of human connection. Loneliness, it turns out, is not just an emotional state. It is a neurological event. When you are chronically isolated, your brain activates a stress response. Cortisol floods in. Over months, over years, it kills neurons in the hippocampus, the memory center. Lonely adults have a 40% higher risk of developing dementia. That number comes from a 2022 meta-analysis of over 600,000 participants, 40%. Just from being alone too much. The reverse is also true. Strong social bonds actually stimulate neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells. Connection is medicine. Your micro-action. Call one person today, not text. Call, a real voice. Even 10 minutes changes your brain chemistry by the end of the call. 6. They control the one number most people ignore. This is what researchers found. Blood pressure doesn't just damage your heart, it silently destroys your brain, years before any symptom appears. The mechanism is brutal. High blood pressure causes tiny ruptures in cerebral blood vessels. These ruptures create microscopic scars called white matter lesions. They accumulate invisibly. And one day, the network breaks. A 2019 study from UC Davis followed participants for 25 years. People with high blood pressure in midlife, their 40s and 50s, had significantly more brain atrophy and worse cognitive scores decades later. Not old age, midlife. That's right now for most of you watching this. Midlife hypertension increases dementia risk by 60%. 60%. And most people with high blood pressure have no idea they have it. It has been called the silent killer. In this case, it silently kills your mind first, your micro-action. If you haven't checked your blood pressure in the last 90 days, do it this week. Many pharmacies do it for free. Know your number. 120/80. That's the target. 7. They treat stress like a physical threat, because it is. In 2010, a Swedish research team published a finding that floored the neuroscience world. They had tracked 800 Swedish women for 44 years. The women who reported high stress in midlife, frequent worry, tension, irritability, had nearly double the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by their 70s and 80s. Not mild elevation, not a small signal. Double. Here is what that looked like inside the brain. Chronic stress keeps cortisol levels permanently elevated. Cortisol, over time, literally shrinks the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that thinks, plans, and remembers. It also shrinks the hippocampus. The brain you have at 70 is being shaped by how you handle stress at 55. Double the Alzheimer's risk from stress alone. But here's the part that matters most. The Swedish women, who had stressful lives but used active coping, social support, problem-solving, talking, showed dramatically less damage than those who suppressed or avoided stress. The stress wasn't optional. How they processed it was. Your micro-action. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, spend 3 minutes writing down what is actually worrying you. Just naming it reduces cortisol. Science shows it. Try it once. Here's your 3-step plan. Start tomorrow morning. 0 cost. No equipment. Step 1. Morning walk. 20 minutes. Before breakfast if possible. BDNF peaks early. Your brain grows connections while your neighbors are still asleep. Step 2. Eat 1 protective meal. Dark leafy greens. Blueberries if you have them. A drizzle of olive oil. That's the mind diet in its simplest form. 1 meal, 1 day at a time. Step 3. Connect with 1 person. A real call. A face-to-face conversation. Not a comment section, not a text. A human voice. Your hippocampus responds. Your cortisol drops. Your risk falls. That's it. 3 actions, all free, all backed by decades of research. The people who never get dementia didn't have a secret. They had a habit. Now you have 7. If this video made you think differently about your brain, subscribe. Next week, the 1 common medication millions of people over 50 take daily that researchers now link to accelerated memory loss. You need to know this before your next doctor's visit.